Hello there, and in today's video, we're going to delve into more depth about one of the components of emotional intelligence, and that's self-awareness. What exactly is it? How do you get it? We'll be talking about all of that in this video. So when I talk about awareness in particular, the self-awareness, it's understanding who you are, values that you have, beliefs that you have, strategies you're running, how you're going about managing or not managing your emotions. All of those things play into self-awareness, and all of that will play into your emotional intelligence, and we'll delve into those in this video. The first part of the self-awareness is being honest with yourself, understanding your strengths and your weaknesses, identifying some of those beliefs that you have that might not be supporting you, and going about getting rid of those, changing those. What are those beliefs that you have that are really powerful? And you want to make sure you keep reinforcing and strength. What are the strategies you have for dealing with people and stress and all those things? Those pieces to it, being honest and identifying what isn't so good, what you aren't doing so well as what you do well, is incredibly helpful. It's a powerful component in really good leadership. It's that self-awareness and being true and understanding who you really are. Honesty with yourself. There's a famous story told about Henry Ford, and Henry Ford did not have a reputation of being very bright. And he was being sued. He was on, and I don't remember all the details of the story, but he's in court and he's on the witness stand. And the lawyer who's trying to prove a point by showing Henry Ford's weakness, which is his intelligence, was asking him all these like crazy questions about what a educated person should know. And Henry Ford, the way the story goes, was getting irritated, but he understands himself well enough. He finally says, listen, you know what? I don't need to clutter my mind with the answers to those silly questions. If I really want to know the answer to that question, I push a button on my desk. This man comes in and he'll give me the answer to that. If I want to know the answer to another question like you just asked, and I don't know it, I press another button and another man will come in to give me the answer to that. I don't need to clutter my mind with that stuff. I have people who will give me the answers when I need them. And rather than coming across as somebody who wasn't very intelligent, he actually came across as somebody who was, because he knew who he was and he knew how to find the answers when he really needed them. Another part of self-awareness is recognizing the strategies you run, those stress-related strategies. Sometimes we refer to them as the triggers. What is it that sets you off, that gets those negative emotions running, and oftentimes have you react in ways that you wouldn't really want to react to, because you're getting caught up in the emotion of the stress. You're getting caught up in that negative emotion. Being aware of those allows you to begin to interrupt the patterns and change patterns. If you aren't really aware of it, very often the trigger happens, you react, and then you can't even learn and grow from it. You keep repeating that same cycle over and over. I see that sometimes in professional athletes, right? John McEnroe was notorious for losing his cool in pressure moments. Bjorn Borg was just the opposite, cool, calm, and collected at all times. I've seen numerous times college pitchers, even professional pitchers, you see it sometimes with hitters, but pitchers, you can often see it. When calls didn't go their way, you can see them, their physiology begins to change, they're getting upset, they're carrying themselves differently, and inevitably, all of a sudden, they begin to lose command on the mound. They will walk a guy, they'll throw a wild pitch, they'll hang a breaking ball, because they lost their composure, right? They lost that ability to manage their emotions. They were triggered, and because maybe they weren't aware of the trigger or aware of the process, they got caught up in it. So self-awareness of your triggers is crucially important. The other aspect I do a lot when we go through this whole self-awareness process of self-reflection, right, is value structure. So you want to know what your values are in all the areas of your life. Some of those values may show up in repeated areas of your life, but at different levels, right? So what are values? It's those words that you can't really put into like a wheelbarrow, right? They are words like respect and love and friendship and freedom and power. Those kind of words are value-oriented words. And I usually give a big long list of value words and have people begin to think of the different areas of their life, like professionally, so in the workplace, or if you're a student within the student culture, family, right? Your personal life, your civic life, all these different roles that you play in your life. What do you value most in each of those? When you become aware of those, you can begin to maybe even identify some potential conflicts between values in two different areas. So oftentimes people who are driven for success and earning that respect and that recognition in the workplace, that drive can come into conflict with their desire to spend time with and grow with in the personal relationships with family. Sometimes those can end up being a conflict and causing internal conflict and stress within an individual. Once you become self-aware of that potentiality, now we can begin to address it and work with you to take care of that conflict, to kind of remove the conflict, to show you how to address that. That's all part of this idea of knowing your values, doing a values hierarchy in all areas of your life. You know, the Bible talks about Jesus's ministry said something about, you know, how dare you try to take the speck out of somebody's eye when you have a beam in your own eye, right? So the idea that if you aren't taking care of understanding your own weaknesses, your own faults, how can you possibly help somebody else? So it's this idea that you become aware of your rough edges. My wife was wonderful at that for me and with me, right? She helped polish off my rough edges. And I think that's the case in any really good, strong marriage. You complement each other and you help the other person to polish off those rough edges. You can't do that until you become aware of them. And sometimes your partner can help you become aware of them, but we can go through a whole process where you self-reflect too. Imagine what your best friend, what other people, what do they say or think about you, right? You do those sort of thought experiments can help you get down on paper, and yes, write them down on paper, what those weak spots are, what those rough edges are. I remember talking to my cousin who rose up into the corporate world and in some of the major corporations, and talking about his journey along the way and having good leaders who would sit him down and say, listen, you know, here's one of your strengths, but you really need to work on this if you're going to be able to keep growing and become a more effective leader. And he took that to heart, right? So he understood that that's there to help him. And it's that learning from that, which is that powerful part of emotional intelligence. So that willingness to learn from, you know, having those flaws or rough edges pointed out is what allows you to evolve. It's the learning the lessons and then working to better yourself. That's the evolution process of you as a human being. It's a conscious kind of process. It's something you are doing when you are emotionally intelligent and self-aware. Without being self-aware, without having that emotional intelligence, it just kind of happens, and you may or may not evolve and grow and become better at all. And we probably, most of you probably can think of somebody who's like that. So that ability to evolve is totally related to your self-awareness. Today I'm going to encourage you, besides yes, subscribing to our channel. I'm going to encourage you to also register for one of our free webinars. I got a few webinars, and the link to that will be in the description. In particular, you might want to be registering for the emotional hygiene webinar, because emotional intelligence, emotional hygiene, I think you can obviously see the connection there. So I encourage you to register for that and then come back and watch another video.